other theme, the potential economic impact of the second surge. I'm joined by Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, Sunil Sanghai. We're also joined by Kamal Gianchandani. He's the CEO of PVR Pictures. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. Dr. Hiranandani, at a time when there were these green shoots which were appearing in so many sectors, is it your concern that if India gets close to a lockdown situation, we will lose the gains we've made in, let's say, the last 3 months?
I agree with you entirely. A second lockdown, to the extent which has happened at the first time, is going to be a disaster for the country. Earlier, we did not have the avenue out, and we didn't know about what was happening of the attack by COVID-19. Now we do. Number two, we have the healthcare centers. So I do not think it is necessary to lock down cities like Mumbai, shutting down trains or transport or other things, as had happened in the last occasion. The extent to which it has disrupted the economy, forget. Vishnu, you have to think about the amount of people who don't have jobs, who are out of work. It's horrible. And it's still continuing, especially in the hotels, in the tourism sector. All these things are really going through a very tough time. So I don't think we can afford a lockdown to the extent it happened. It has to be moderated. And I think a lot of things will have to continue to work in spite of the virus. And we will have to learn to live with it. So irrespective of what has happened, Vishnu, we have to see that the lockdown is not of the type which was done last time. That would be
all right. I take the point that, if there is a lockdown, it cannot be that like last time entirely. Mr. Gianchandani, in your business at PVR Pictures, in a city like Mumbai, where there are again restrictions, how are you seeing, a terrible situation at a time when you hope that you'd be getting out of what we've seen last year?
No, Vishnu, you're absolutely right, and what Mr. Hiranandani said is also absolutely correct, that we cannot afford to have another lockdown. There are jobs, livelihoods at stake. The business have just started emerging, finding some feet on the ground, emerging from the terrible economic affairs phase, lockdown phase that we've gone through. As far as our business is concerned, we've just about started finding rhythm. South of India is doing exceptionally well. The cases are, have been contained well. Films are releasing on time. Box office performance is outstanding. In fact, better than pre-COVID levels. But Northwest, we are suffering because we don't have enough Hindi films coming out, and producers are not feeling confident because there is this constant changes in the restrictions and curbs which are being imposed by the government. So a second lockdown at this stage
would be disastrous.
Will have a very long-term damage on our business, and not just our business, many other businesses which have a very high intensive contact element.
Right.
A lot of these businesses will find it extremely difficult to recover back.
I take that point. It will be difficult to continue. I'm just running short on time, which is why I want to go across to Mr. Sanghai. Sir, what is your biggest concern right now? People were reprojecting India's GDP growth way upwards. But the fact of the matter is these numbers are now going to keep on going up for some time. I mean, it's not an exaggeration. It's a fact until we get a grip on this. How do you project India's economy over the next few months from what we had hoped it would be?
Vishnu, that's a very good question. Let me just add my own bit in terms of the Maharashtra and potential lockdown. Look, when we talk about Maharashtra, when we talk about Bombay, it is nothing but a proxy of all India, because the financial market is over here, capital market is here, bulk of the revenue comes from this part of the country. So which means that if there is something, if something happens here, it impacts the entire India. Therefore, we have to see this in that light. I just saw the numbers flashing on your screen, GDP contraction not long ago. We remember in the first quarter around this time last year, down 24%. The revenue, just to give you one number, now we are talking about GST collection for this month somewhere in the range of 1,25,000 crores or so. Came down to 32,000 crores in month of April. So there is going to be a very severe impact. coming back to the question which you asked, that how do we see the economy panning out from here? I think we are now clearly inching towards a recovery, a very good recovery. It's just that the current second wave is worrying. As you just heard from the other panelists, things have started coming back on track. Consumption, manufacturing, our trade, everything is looking positive right now. And that's reflected in the capital market, which is what I represent. Clearly, I think at this point of time, a right mix of somewhere health and wealth is important. We need to take care of health, but at the same time, we need to be mindful of that we balance this approach.
Absolutely. How are we going to find that balance with these numbers going up? Let's just hope that there is more vaccination to begin with, and there is more common sense at all levels from our political class who go on without wearing a mask because it's election season, and citizens out there as well who have so much more to do in the midst of possibly a new strain. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us.